Hello and welcome back. Now in this video we are going to create another method. Remember from the in-process communication slide, we saw that the notification service does not produce any message, it only consumes, and it consumes from the auth service, which we already have here. So this is going to always consume the messages published from the auth service, okay, and then it consumes from the order service and the chat service or the message service, okay. But now for the order service and the chat service, the type of message that will be sent will be the ones related to the orders, okay. So if a seller and a buyer, they are chatting, they are communicating, and they agreed, okay, on the price of probably whatever gig, and then the seller sends an offer to the buyer, we are going to what? Consume that message here in this email consumer. And then also from the order service, if the an order is delivered, or maybe a request is made, an extension request, then we are also going to consume the message here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one method for that, okay. And anything related to the orders, whether it's coming from the order service or the chat service, as long as it's related to orders, I'm going to create just one method, okay. I don't want to have too many queues and too many exchanges, okay. So what I'm going to do is simple, just duplicate this function, okay. So duplicate this function right here, and I'll change the name. I'll call this consume order email messages, consume order email messages, and then export it right here, okay. So email consumer consume order email messages error, okay. Now for this we are going to use a different exchange, okay. Remember, because this is the method that will consume messages related to orders, okay. The message from the chat service, we are not sending a message. Maybe if a user if a sender sends a message or a buyer sends a message, we are not sending in an email. You know, in some applications you usually see that maybe if one of the users is not online, okay, and then the other user sends a message, then the application will send an email to the other user, to the receiver, that okay, this particular person sent you a message. We are not doing that. The only message that will be sent from the chat service will be when the seller sends an offer to the buyer, okay. So we are going to handle that. I'll call this Jobber order notification. So the exchange name is going to be order notification. The routing key, I'll call this order email, and then the queue, I'll call this order email queue. And this is going to be a direct exchange as well, okay. So the exchange name is going to be Jobber order notification, okay. The routing key, and then the queue name. So the routing key will be used to route messages to this particular queue. So we assert the exchange here, then we assert the queue. It returns an object right here with the replies.assert queue that contains the queue. And then this line bind queue is what binds the exchange to the queue using the routing key. So anytime you publish a message with this exchange name and routing key, it will always send that message to this queue, okay. So anytime, and now it depends on how you want to handle the message right here. Now we are going to handle the message by sending emails, okay. So right here, all we just need, we do the json.parse, and then we acknowledge the message here, okay. This is just all we need to do. We have not created our method to handle sending of emails, so that is why we just have this here with these comments. We are going to handle that later, okay. Now let's go ahead and use this function. So let's use this function. I'll go to server, and then right here I can duplicate this and then paste it here. Let me import as well. Okay, so now let's test it out, okay. So down here I'm going to assert. So we are going to send publish two different messages. So I'll assert the, oh, let me do it this way. Oh. And then move this one down here. So this one here will be for the Jobber email exchange. This will be for the order exchange. So let me, I'll set this as message 1. And now let's pass in the queue, the exchange name, and then let's pass in the routing key. So this is the routing key. Okay. Now I've saved it. Now we should see, oh, I needed to change this. Yeah, we should, I was expecting to see 2 messages, but order auth. So here we'll publish a message. We publish a message to the Jobber email notification, and this will go to Jobber order notification. So okay, if I save, we should see 2 messages right here. Okay, now you can see them: auth notification service, order notification service. And if I go right to the dashboard, you can see we now have 2 queues. Let's see the exchanges. We have the Jobber email notification and the Jobber order notification. They are both direct exchanges. Okay, and then if you go to the queues, you can see we have 2 queues. Okay, so any message that goes to this Jobber email notification using the routing key auth email will always be routed to the auth email queue. Okay, you can just give it whatever name, but give it a name that you can use to easily identify. So okay, looking at this, I know that okay, this queue is related to the authentication email. This queue is related to other emails. Okay, so right here we are able to publish just sample messages, and then we consume the messages right here. In the next video, we'll create our mail transport so that we can send actual emails.